The 2024 Republican presidential field just got a little bigger. Today, Mike Pence was in Iowa. Guess why? To throw his hat in the ring, becoming the first vice president to run against his former boss, the former president, in more than 80 years.
My former running mate continues to insist that I had the right to overturn the election. But President Trump was wrong then, and he's wrong now. I believe that anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be President of the United States. And anyone who asks someone else to put them over the Constitution should never be President of the United States again. After leading the most pro-life administration in American history, Donald Trump and others in this race are retreating from the cause of the unborn.
Pence also unleashed his sharpest criticism of Trump yet for what Trump did on January 6th. Joining me now to discuss, Jason Johnson, politics and journalism professor at Morgan State University and contributor to The Grio, and former Republican Congressman and CIA officer Will Hurd, who's from the state of Texas. All right, it's official. Mike Pence is in. What do you think, Jason?
I think nothing. He's not going to win. He can't compete against Trump. We already know what the primary audience is. I will say, and this is probably the first time I've ever said this publicly, I am impressed that he is so candid about the inherent corruption of not only his former boss, but many members of his same organization who want to overlook the fact that the former twice impeached president tried to violently overthrow the country, tried to suborn the Constitution. I think it's very impressive that Mike Pence said that, but he's got to only be running because he wants to get that message out, because he can't possibly think he's going to win. The same people who are going to be voting in this primary were supporting the folks who are calling for him to be hung. That doesn't suggest to me that he's got a clear pathway to success, let alone beating Joe Biden.
Bingo. To that very point, Congressman, Mike Pence talked about his refusal to overturn the election results. And to Jason's point, that is impressive. But the problem is Republican voters didn't want that. They wanted to overturn the results. Mike Pence was recently booed at an NRA convention in his home state.
Sure, and I wouldn't say all Republicans did that. A significant amount. I'm not gonna criticize there. And look, Vice President Pence has a narrow margin, but what all of Republican voters should be thinking about is, if we want to take on Joe Biden and beat him, if we want to do things like secure the border, bring back inflation, bend back inflation, address the debt, then we have to win elections. And that means you got to put somebody up in November who can appeal to independents and the conservative Democrats and take advantage of the reality that President Biden's job numbers are so low. And that's the question.
What did you say about inflation? I couldn't hear you. You said address the border. You said they should do something about inflation.
Yeah, bend it back, bend the curve back on inflation, reduce inflation.
It has been. Maybe that's one of the reasons. Hold on, please. Hold on, please.
Where folks would like it, right?
Fine. It might not be where folks would like it, but we want to operate in truths here, and especially as it relates to the economy. Hold on. It is factually incorrect to say bend it backwards in terms of inflation, because while people might not feel ideal, inflation was running hot last year, and it has moved down significantly. So let's just operate in facts, because if we don't,
is good right now, that you want to keep inflation where it is today. You would like to see that continue.
I didn't
for the
say
next
that.
4 years. Is that what you're implying?
I didn't say that. But what you said to me a moment ago would be to bend it back. To bend it back means to reverse.
Reduce
and it's really important that we're operating in truths. And we're going to continue to do that. Jason, let's talk about Chris Christie. He went after Trump and his family in his announcement yesterday. Watch this.
The grift from this family is breathtaking. It's breathtaking. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Kushner walk out of the White House and months later get $2 billion from the Saudis. $2 billion from the Saudis. You think it's because he's some kind of investing genius? Or do you think it's because he was sitting next to the President of the United States for 4 years doing favors for the Saudis? That's your money. That's your money he stole and gave it to his family. You know what that makes us? A banana republic.
Whether or not he's the right messenger, Jason, what do you think about Chris Christie's approach rather than Mike Pence's?
I mean, I love both of these approaches from a messaging standpoint. I'm just wondering, where was all this magical backbone when this was going on? Right? I mean, like Jared and Ivanka Kushner didn't become grifters when they left the White House. They were pulling these sort of scams when they were in the White House, right? I mean, like, Christie has family. It amazes me that a candidate like Chris Christie, who's supposed to be the tough guy from Jersey, isn't the governor, and we already know what he does with bridges and things like that. But it's amazing that this guy who's supposed to be this tough truth teller, who won in a blue state, was so quiet about these issues of corruption. This is not somebody reimagining John McCain here. This was not somebody who had the backbone and integrity to attack his party when his party was in the White House. So I don't know how he can get people to believe that he's going to be that real truth teller now when he didn't do it when it mattered. So is the attack correct? Sure, it is. I would like to go back and check the tape to see if he ever said anything about Hunter Biden. Right? If you're going to go after Jared and Ivanka, you know, did you suddenly have a problem with them now, but you didn't say anything then? I just don't think he's got much credibility on this. Great message, wrong messenger.
Of course, important to remember, in terms of Hunter Biden, he's not currently employed or was ever employed by our government. He holds no office in the White House. Both Jared and Ivanka were senior advisors to former President Trump. Congressman, what do you think about Chris Christie's approach here?
Look, he plays a role in highlighting all the personal foibles of Donald Trump over these last years. But, you know, as been said, where was this? And voters want to see people that are ideologically consistent. And it's hard to go from a supporter to an attacker. But right now, in that moment, reminding voters of Donald Trump's problems, but also reminding him that he's caused Republicans to lose. And we know we lost the House in 2018 because the House of Representatives in 2018 because of Donald Trump. We lost the White House. We lost the Senate in 2020. And then we didn't have the red wave, which should have happened in 2022. That's because of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is a known loser. And if Republican Party nominates Donald Trump as the nominee for the Republican Party, then we are willingly allowing Joe Biden to win, because that's what's going to happen if Trump is the nominee.
Thank you both for your insights tonight. Always good to see you both. Will, sorry for getting fired up. I'm so sensitive, specifically when we talk about the economy. We have got to just make sure for our audience we're operating in exactly what is going on. And there's a difference between how people feel. But there's a difference between how people feel and what the facts are. So we just want to be sure we're giving them the facts, because that impacts how they feel. Jason Johnson, Will Hurd, great to have you both here.